Greetings from the far side of the galaxy, I'm Fuuri, your host of the most, here to bring you a story about demons. Why are you getting this video, you ask? Well, in short, that Babylon video is totally not near finished. So I figured I'd make use of my live streams and make a video about Soul Hackers 2 since I already have the footage. I'm resurrecting an old series for this video that I haven't done since, I think the Backbone video way back in the day. It's called G-Bub. It stands for the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, the names for each section of the video. Without any time to waste, like and subscribe, donate to my Ko-fi and Patreon, and let's get started with the first section. Soul Hackers 2 is the newest game in Atlus's line of JRPGs, and you can tell since it plays very similar to their other games. At first glance, you might compare it to Persona, but it actually plays way more similarly to Shin Megami Tensei's Strange Journey. The co-op system has been reworked into the Sabbath system, where instead of press turns for hitting weaknesses, you gain stacks. And at the end of your turn, all of your stacks compound together for something that's very similar to the Persona game's all-out attacks. I actually like the system a lot since it changes up the usual press turns, and unlike in Strange Journey, alignment has nothing to do with it. It's nice to just be able to use whatever demons you have without building an entire team around chaos or law or whatever. To continue speaking on the battle system, I really like how they handled your party members' learning skills. I know it's kind of cringe to keep comparing this to Persona, but it's the game that most people played, so I'm going to keep doing it. Rather than social links, you have an entire dungeon called the Axis to do. With each Axis boss you defeat, your allies gain access to pretty useful skills like healing MP whenever they guard. It's nice motivation for an optional side dungeon that I'm definitely going to make good use of. This is a small thing, but I like how fights don't start when you whack an enemy. It makes just running through dungeons while avoiding every fight way more tolerable. Combine that with a feature to review all dialogue whenever you want, and story synopses on loading screens, and you can put this game down without losing track of your progress. It's nice to see JRPGs finally adopting more beginner and adult-friendly features. That does it for the good section, so why don't we move on to the first B of G-Bub and start the bad. I'm playing Soul Hackers 2 on PC, so one thing that immediately stood out to me was the lack of config options. Particularly how you can't turn off the tutorials. You can control how they work on loading screens, but not the ones that pop up all over the place. The second major issue is in the dungeons. Rather than doing what SMT5 did, Soul Hackers 2 has dungeons more similar to SMT4. You run around, whack glitchy demons with your sword to start fights, that sort of thing. However, Soul Hackers dungeons just aren't as good as SMT4's. The camera just doesn't work and it gets in the way all the time. Like, your navigator in this game is Mimi, and she warns you of enemies. But half the time, you can't even find the enemies because they're behind some object or around a corner. It's just annoying. To be honest, there's not too much about the game I'd call bad, but there is one major issue I'd like to bring up in the next section. This game is slow. I get that all JRPGs have annoyingly long openings, and Soul Hackers 2 does make sure you get your party members lickety-split, but it took me around 2.5 hours to get to the first portion of long, uninterrupted gameplay in the Axis. And that's not even the most egregious example. It took me nearly 4.5 hours to unlock Demon Fusion in a Megami Tensei game. And the beginning of the game has no flow because there are just so many cutscenes that interrupt everything. And the tutorial pop-ups I mentioned before only make this problem even worse. And if that wasn't slow enough for you, this game is also menu heavy. Just to equip your demons, you need to press Y, navigate to the demon section, then press Y again, and then you might need to press left or right to navigate to a character. Compare that to SMT5, which was literally like 2 buttons and maybe a loading screen. All of this just drags the game down to a snail's pace. I streamed the game for nearly 6 hours, a full quarter of a day, and I'm only on like the second, maybe third major dungeon. I don't play video games that slowly, do I? Because I'd hate to leave this on a bad note, let's wash the taste out of my mouth with the next section. Soul Hackers 2 has so much style. The little animation that happens when the battle begins, the look of the UI, and the music are just so good. But above all of that, what I love most about this game is its themes and characters. Like, one of the major ideas in this game is the idea that humanity has stagnated. That art and culture have just been repackaged over and over, banking on nostalgia. When companies are so concerned with making a buck rather than creating something new. A place where a big public work like a subway system can die in bureaucratic hell and become the only place for the victims of a housing and unemployment crisis. There's hitting close to home, and then there's breaking in and beating me over the head with a bat. I love it. And your party members have so much personality during battle when they tell you if an enemy's weak to something or not. And we finally don't have a silent protagonist. I just love Ringo so much because we get her non-human perspective on all of the issues the characters bring up. If anything was carrying me through the slow parts of this game, it was definitely the story. Definitely going to stream Soul Hackers 2 more, so subscribe to my channel and check out my Twitter to know when I do. Tell me what you think of G-Bub, and sorry for how short this video is. School just started, I'm just now getting into streaming, just sprained my ankle, this entire week has been a mess. I'll bust my butt so the Babylon video is out next Sunday, so I'll see you then, or maybe I'll catch you during one of my streams. I nearly forgot, but I used my super mega brain powers to remember our Patreon shoutouts. For our first tier, we have special thanks to Zoro Ichao, 87 Werehog, and Prisma 144. We still have no one in tier 2, so we're moving on. The first on our list for our 5 stars is Unknown RC, whose demons are a bit different. And then we have Vanilla Flower, who will end it thus. And finally, we have Mahagasaur, who will kindly ask if you pardon me. Thank you for watching, and as always, this is your host Fuuri signing out.